Welcome to the very first vocab round. This is a pretty simple concept. I went out to a local course here in Salem, Oregon, and tried to incorporate as many basic disc golf terms into the round. And I will be going through just giving a brief description of all of the different things that I did. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions about any of the terms, need anything clarified, please leave a comment down below and I will answer you in the comments, trying to help out the best I can. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we are actually starting here at hole 3 at the Oregon State Hospital course here in Salem, Oregon. First term is just your simple right hand backhand. This is something that you will see and hear often, whereas most people are right-handed, and backhand throw is very, very common. So here we have a forehand approach shot. And when you hear approach shot, that just means that this is the shot that is approaching the basket. Generally, you're trying to get this as close to the basket as possible. So this is a tap in putt. Basically, that just means that it is close enough to the basket that it doesn't take much thought or effort to get the disc into the basket. Moving on to hole 4, I'm going to pause and show you a hyzer angle release. As you can see with the arrow on screen, the hyzer angle has the disc pointed up into my chest, whereas you can see now arrow is pointing where the disc is pointed outwards towards the sky. This is going to be an anhyzer release, and I'll show you an example of that throw later in the video. This shot resulted in a parked situation. Parked is a term used for when the disc lands within about 11 to 15 feet of the basket, leaving for a what some people would call a tap-in putt or just a simple standard putt, and usually result in a birdie on the scorecard, which is going to be 1 stroke below par. Ideally, this is what you want to do on all par 3 holes. Here on hole 5, I throw this drive nose up, which causes air to catch the underside of the disc and lift it up into the sky instead of following a flatter flight path. This results in me hitting trees, tree branches, and falling down into the middle of the fairway. From this position, I decided to throw a standstill shot. Whereas most distance shots have a run up, this is one where you just stand still. It's generally a more controlled shot, but you will get less power by throwing it this way. This shot landed in circle 2, which means that it landed in between 33 feet and 66 feet away from the basket. In this range, while putting, you're able to still land in front of your disc. And in this case, I am doing a jump putt. This is a way to generate more power to get your disc to land or to possibly get the disc to the basket. This is different than a circle 1 putt, which is going to be inside of 33 feet, in which you are not allowed to land in front of your disc. And so that is going to be a situation where you have a standard stance and a standard putt. Here at hole 6, I am going for a skip shot. This is done by giving your disc a lot of hyzer angle, hitting the ground at a high speed, allowing it to skip across the ground. This is great for trying to get around obstacles. As you can see here, I have to throw around a tennis court cage. So here is a anhyzer release approach shot. As you can see, I'm going to have the outside of the disc pointed towards the sky. This is going to allow the disc to float down right next to the basket, and leaves me for a beautiful par on this hole. Moving on to hole 7, we're going to freeze here to point out a very common situation in disc golf where you have a gap that you need to hit. This is generally decided by where the trees are located. If you have any type of wooded situation, there's going to be a gap that you have to hit. We see here the basket sits behind this middle row of trees, and so you have a right gap and a left gap that are options that will require different types of throws to get to. This drive ended up in circle 2, and as stated previously, I am able to land in front of my disc when putting in this range. This is a different type of putt. It's a step putt versus the jump putt that I performed earlier. This is just another way to generate power in hopes to get that disc into the basket from this range. Unfortunately, I was not able to make that putt, and so I have another circle one standard putt from about 15 to 20 feet on the opposite side of the basket. Moving on to hole 8, we have a situation where I released the disc early, or a early release. This can cause the disc to fade to the left very quickly and have you miss your line that you were trying to hit or the gap that you were trying to hit, and can cause you to end up in non-ideal situations. Luckily enough for me, I was able to still land in the fairway of this hole, but did end up a little bit short. In this situation, I'm going to lay up, which is a type of approach shot. In this case, it is just a situation where instead of trying to make the disc into the basket, I'm just trying to get it as close as possible. So I was able to get it very close to where I felt comfortable, where I didn't have to put down my bag or anything. Again, this is a situation that some people would call a tap in. Here, I stopped to do a little bit of form review. This is something that you will see some channels do. This is the preferred angle to shoot at when you're trying to look and critique your form as well. You can see the footing very well and the disc placement throughout the entire shot. I just did a couple of throws and then moved on with my round. Here on hole number 9, it is very difficult to get all the way up to the basket. So instead of trying to throw the disc as far as I can, I'm trying to land it in a certain spot, put me in a good position to throw up to the basket. And here the landing zone is right before the tennis courts. And as you can see, I throw my disc and it's going to settle down nicely into an open area away from the trees to where I can have a nice open area to throw from. So this is a Tomahawk Throw. It is one of numerous overhand throws. It is different than a forehand or backhand and has a very different flight. In this case, I was not able to put it next to the basket, leaving myself with a circle 2 putt. This is what most people would consider a half bid, to where I'm kind of trying to make it, but at the same time, not trying to go too far past the basket. It's a situation where if I make it, fantastic, but if I don't, I'm not too worried because the next putt is going to be an easy one for me to make. So here I am putting in that putt, which I barely put in over the cage. Moving right along, this is hole 1, and this is what some people are going to call a bomber shot. It is just when you're trying to throw as far as you possibly can down the fairway. So I was able to find the fairway and have a nice open lane to the basket. Unfortunately, again, this is an early release throw. A couple of situations to where an early release may happen is if your disc is wet. It is also a common error when throwing with a fan grip. And I will be putting out a video here in the coming weeks going over different types of grips that you can use while throwing a disc. So with that early release, I left myself a longer putt than I would like, and unfortunately had a complete air ball, which means I missed the chains, missed the basket and everything, which results in a comeback putt, which just means you're putting from the opposite side of the basket than what you did prior. So the opposite of a early release throw is what we call a grip locked throw, where you hold onto the disc too long and usually pulls to the right for right-hand backhand players. This caused my disc to go into a tree and fall down into the middle of the fairway. So when stepping up to your disc, you have a 30-second window to address your lie and determine your throw. In this case, you can use a rangefinder to see how far away from the basket you are. You can check the wind. And of course, you're trying to figure out what is the best line to throw your disc at. So you have 30 seconds to do this process and to complete your throw. or it can be considered a penalty and cost you a stroke. In this case, I'm doing a nice little skip approach shot that's going to land nice up close to the basket since I have an obstacle right in front of my face. So that was the end of my round. Had some nice putts, some throws. Hopefully this was helpful. Here is my scorecard for the round. It has a lot of different information on it. And if you'd like to see a video on how to read this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. I'll be putting that video out here in a couple of weeks. Well, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed the vocab round, I ask that you hit the little thumbs up button just below the video. It means a lot and helps my videos get out to more people who are trying to learn the sport just like you. And until next time, I'll see you out on the course.